These are 10 episodes where Lois Griffin was the worst wife. Starting with the time Lois hypnotized Peter to perform better in bed, which had disastrous consequences. Lois and Peter spend a nice evening at a his and hers restaurant where they enjoy each other's company and grossly talk out loud about what they plan to do later that night.
When we get home, let's do it so loud the kids wake up.
Can't they just talk about, work or something? Jeez. The next day, Lois spills the tea to the girls about the date night, but dances around talking about the after party, if you know what I'm saying.
After you had dinner, how was the pork?
Lois admits that she wishes Peter would do certain things, but they've been together for so long that it doesn't look like that's ever gonna happen. Bonnie suggests that the two visit a therapist to figure out what can be done. The therapist tries to get Peter to open up, but judging by how he hides behind that painting, it doesn't seem like he's comfortable talking about this, so the therapist suggests hypnosis with a trigger phrase.
It's essentially training the brain to behave a certain way every time he hears it.
Peter agrees to this, but when the therapist tries to hypnotize him and give him his trigger word, they're interrupted by his phone.
Sorry, I get push notifications whenever Chrissy Teigen cyberbullies a nobody.
Later that night, Lois tries to use the trigger word, but nothing happens. As Peter sulks off, he hears the jingle from his phone on the TV. It looks like that specific jingle is now his trigger phrase, and Peter gets right down to business. Must be a great relationship when you have to hypnotize someone to do things for you. Lois seemed to have an amazing night, but Peter doesn't remember a thing. Sounds like a pretty good deal. But leave it to Lois to take advantage of a good thing by using the jingle to control Peter without his consent. Lois is very happy with this setup, even allowing Peter to go play golf while she takes care of his chores.
If my husband wants to go play golf, he plays golf. I keep him happy, he keeps me happy.
Later that night, Peter and Lois go to the Peterschmidt's house for dinner, though Babs remains sick in bed.
Lois, will you be a dear and make a plate for me?
Lois asks Peter to do this while she opens a bottle of wine, and suspiciously, he doesn't return. She begins to panic when she hears those two magic words coming from the television upstairs. Lois races up the stairs to stop the inevitable, but she's all too late, letting out the most disturbing scream I've heard in my life. But the deed is done. Looks like everyone is going to be needing hypnotherapy after this. Peter and Lois drive home in silence, ignoring calls from Lois's mom and dad. Maybe some music will help break the tension? Well, hopefully Peter can just puke all of the hypnosis out of his system so they can never speak about this night again.
Hey guys.
Peter, no.
But that isn't the only time Lois has ruined Peter's life, as one time her midlife crisis pushed her into almost cheating on Peter again. Brian notices that Lois's birthday is coming up, but she admits that she'd rather let this one pass, as being reminded about her age just makes her sad. Despite this, Brian suggests they throw her a party to cheer her up. Good tip, if someone says they really don't want something, do it anyway. Flawless logic. While at the park with Stewie, Lois is once again reminded of her age when she tries to play around with Stewie.
Get ready for blast off. Oh, son of a...
When she finally returns home, Lois is met with all of her friends and family who are surprising her at the party. This actually seems to cheer Lois up, but of course Peter has to ruin it with a poem about how old she's getting.
What were once two firm, impressive mountain peaks have become a barren, strip-mined, muddy landslide.
He has such a way with words. Embarrassed, Lois runs crying into the other room. Never let Peter speak at parties anymore. Peter can't find Lois the next morning, but she soon rolls up in a Jeep, dressed like she's ready for a night out in Nashville.
Hey, OMG, stop staring at me, please. Okay, thanks.
Brian suggests Lois is having a midlife crisis, which seems obvious because I don't think kids even talk like that. Lois continues her wild and crazy crisis by getting a lower back tattoo, which Peter actually seems to kinda like. Brian warns that something like that is permanent, but Lois doesn't seem too concerned.
Then that means my ass is gonna look young forever.
No holes in that plan. I say again, flawless logic. Peter continues to be a fan of the new Lois as she catches him off guard with a sexy little basement surprise. Maybe just close the door next time?
Destroy me and this laundry.
Put Meg's bra in your mouth.
Their youthful escapades continue as the duo take a night out on the town doing drugs, dancing in clubs, and tagging walls with graffiti. Lois is having the time of her life, but Peter is having a hard time keeping up. Peter is finally starting to lose momentum at the next party, but Lois wants to have fun with her new young friends.
No offense, but this place is awesome.
Where was I supposed to be offended within that remark?
Lois is ready to hit the next party, but Peter just wants to go home now that the novelty of having a hot young wife is worn off for him.
So if you don't want to run with the wild horses, then go back to the barn and go to bed.
Peter can't keep up with Lois anymore, and Brian tells him this is all his doing since he made her feel bad about her age. They see on the news that Justin Bieber is going to be performing in Quahog, witnessing Lois go crazy for the teen star. Is Justin Bieber still a thing? I can't tell from the retirement home I'm in. Peter decides he needs to step in before they lose Lois to the young life. After the concert, Lois manages to make her way backstage to meet Justin, who doesn't seem to get any of her dated movie references.
I'm Stifler's mom.
Still, no idea.
Okay, just get your pants off, hon.
Luckily, Peter busts down the door just in time, preventing Lois from doing something that will land her in jail.
Just relax, old man.
Old man? What, you think you're not gonna get old, you little shit?
Well, that will land you in jail too. Peter tells Lois she needs to start acting her age, but Lois says she's just giving him everything he wants. Yet Peter doesn't want to be married to a kid anymore and loves Lois just the way she is. Good luck getting rid of that back tattoo. But this isn't the only time Lois acted recklessly, as there's the time when she became addicted to stealing, which landed her in jail and put her whole family in danger. While shopping at the grocery store, Lois comes up a little short on money and has to put the ham she was going to buy back. But she notices her purse just so happens to be ham-sized. Her sticky fingers continue to cause problems when she goes out clothes shopping. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean you can't have it, right? Before long, Lois is gleefully cleaning out entire stores and not spending a dime doing it.
Oh my God, that was such a rush.
But when she tries to get away with stealing a muffler of all things, she gets caught in the act by Brian.
Brian, what are you doing here?
I should ask you the same question.
Lois admits it's hard to shake off the thrill of stealing, but Brian urges her to stop before things get too out of hand. Before she can go and return everything she took, she's caught by Joe, who engages in a dangerous chase with her when she tries to escape. Unfortunately, Lois is apprehended pretty harshly.
Sorry, Lois, regulations. I can't give you any special treatment.
So he just beats up every criminal? I'm happy I'm not living in this town. In court, Lois apologizes for all the stealing she's done, but just as the judge is actually about to go easy on her, she proves she has a serious problem.
Where the hell is my gavel?
Since she can't help herself, the judge ends up giving her 3 years in state prison. Rough. With Lois gone, the Griffin house has fallen apart, with garbage lying everywhere and no one seeming to know how to change a diaper.
Peter, there's so much duty in here.
The family goes to visit Lois in jail, where she seems ready to do her time and pay for what she's done. But not so fast, as Peter has a brilliant idea on how to get her out.
Bye-bye. Take care now. Have a nice day.
They manage to escape, but with the cops hot on their trail, they decide to hop in a van and take it to who knows where. Now accessories to Lois's escape, the family decides to start a new life and blend into wherever they end up.
Peter, we're in Asian town.
Okay, that might be a bit trickier than expected. Renting a crappy little apartment above a Chinese takeout place, the Griffins all try to get by with odd jobs from rickshaw puller to sweatshop worker to sumo wrestler. That last job might be an issue as Joe witnesses Peter on the television giving away their location. Joe comes looking for the family, so the Griffins flee yet again. They start their getaway by rickshaw and hopping a fence, but Joe brings a helicopter into the mix, forcing the Griffins to take to the sewer. Lois begins to have second thoughts about running, opting to turn herself in so the family can go free.
It was very sweet of you to break me out of jail, but I did something wrong, and I'm the one who should pay, not my whole family.
Joe finally arrives and tries to apprehend Lois, but nearly falls to his death. Thankfully, Lois does what she can to save him.
I can't hang on!
Pretend I'm your child, Lois! Nutmeg, nutmeg!
Luckily, she finds the strength to pull him up, saving his life. After that act of heroism, Joe lets Lois return home. Yeah, because that's how the law works, But this isn't the only illegal thing Lois has done, as she also once became a corrupt mayor who used taxpayer money for personal gain while making the town a worse place. While spending a relaxing weekend at Quagmire's cabin in the woods, the family goes for a swim in the lake, only to find that the water makes their hair fall out. They follow the source and notice a lot of waste being dumped into the lake by an oil refinery.
What kind of world is this where you can't even trust the oil companies anymore?
Lois goes to Mayor Adam West to raise concerns about this, but he reveals that he allows the dumping in exchange for free oil. Outraged by this corruption, Lois plans to run against Mayor West in the next election. Yay, democracy! As the mayoral race begins to heat up, Lois gets the family in on her campaign, though some of them don't really understand what to do.
May we count on your vote next Tuesday?
Chris, this is our house.
You gotta wonder what goes on behind those eyes of his. With the race getting tighter and tighter, Peter tries to get the guys in on the campaign trail, realizing all the stuff they could do with Lois in charge. Joe's approach might just be a little distasteful, threatening to ignore a victim's evidence if she doesn't vote for Lois.
You can't do that!
Sounds like Lois Griffin can count on your vote.
Meanwhile, Quagmire's approach to securing the town's female votes is a little more direct.
I've been having sex with every woman in town non-stop for the past 2 days.
I'm glad someone's trying to pump the votes. Giggity. When it comes time for the two candidates to meet and debate, Lois doesn't initially connect with voters who don't want to hear long-winded policy mumbo-jumbo.
I have a 12-point program for the security. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Meanwhile, Mayor West seems to win hearts and minds with hollow non-answers that just make people think he's chill.
Oh, I like him. He looks me in the eye.
Unsure of how to break through to voters, Brian suggests giving short, simple answers so as not to hurt the voters' itty-bitty brains.
What do you plan to do about crime in our city?
A lot.
It gets to the point where she only has to mention 9/11 to get the crowd going.
What are your plans for cleaning up our environment?
9/11.
With all the ballots cast, Lois wins the election and becomes mayor of Quahog. Her first act as mayor is to clean up the disgusting lake from before, but to do so, she says the one word voters hate more than anything: taxes.
I'm proposing a very modest tax increase that will help us to...
No, that's awful. No.
Fearing she'll lose her community, she returns to what got her elected in the first place: hot button buzzwords.
But what about the terrorists?
By convincing the town that terrorists are hiding in the lake, she manages to get them to literally throw money at her feet. Politics is really that easy, isn't it? With the lake cleaned up, Lois decides to help herself to a little treat by dipping into the tax surplus to buy a new purse.
Lois, spending even 1 penny of that money on yourself is incredibly unethical.
Despite the damage this could do to her family's reputation, Lois doesn't see the big deal and ignores Brian's warning. Lois continues to help herself to some taxpayer spending when she's approached by Bob Grossbeard, the president of Quahog Oil, offering to buy her a coat in exchange for allowing his company to dump in the lake again.
This guy don't sit right with me, Lois. He don't sit right with me.
Listen to your baby, Lois. But she doesn't, caring more about a new coat than damaging the environment. During the opening of the new pipe, Lois sees the immediate damage the dumping does and decides to shut the pipe off. Lois decides to forfeit her title as mayor, refusing to be a part of corruption any longer. Adam West quickly steps in, ready to take his job back, though this does raise some questions.
Don't we need to have a whole new election?
Politics is a heartless beast, ladies and gentlemen. And Lois knows a thing or two about being heartless, as she once purposefully tried to ruin Christmas for the rest of the family. With Christmas right around the corner, Lois is hard at work getting the house ready for the season, though she does seem like the only one working. She decides this year is going to be different, asking her family to help decorate and get an actual meaningful gift for her.
I made you each a list, and I want all of these completed by tomorrow.
Way to make the holiday boring, Mom. After shopping all day, the family comes home empty-handed, much to the annoyance of Lois.
Peter, where's the Christmas tree? We don't even have a tree!
Peter says he has everything under control, leaving and returning later that night with a nice Christmas tree. Looks like the holiday's saved. Oh, he's streaming in the car.
Peter Griffin, what the hell is going on here?
What?
Fed up with her family's incompetence, Lois decides to take up her cousin's offer and go on vacation this holiday, leaving the rest of the family to fend for themselves. But as it turns out, Lois hasn't actually left the country, but has instead gotten a motel room with a conveniently perfect view of the house.
I'll get a phone call any minute begging me to come back and save Christmas.
Back at home, Peter is starting to stress out about not having Lois here to decorate the house.
She usually hangs up these stupid Christmas lights and these stupid Christmas wreaths.
But in his rage, he actually does a pretty good job of making the house look beautiful. Maybe more problems should be handled with blinding anger. The family continues with the holiday festivities like setting a Christmas movie on fire, hanging up stockings, and having a dinner of nicely roasted Meg. What the heck, I'll take a slice. Meanwhile, Lois continues to watch the family have a great time from afar, even seeing them get covered by the local news.
This just in, husband does what wife normally does, makes headlines.
Struck with jealousy over the family having more fun without her, Lois is ready to get scary.
I must put an end to this whole thing. I must stop Christmas.
Sneaking into the house in the middle of the night, Lois is ready to embrace her inner Grinch and ruin Christmas.
Who left all these dirty dishes out?
Okay, now she can get her Grinch on. After she buys some groceries and mops the floor, I guess. Eventually, she cleans the place out, stealing everything from the decorations to the presents to the tree. She really is a mean one. The next morning, the Griffin family excitedly awakens to find their house sucked dry of Christmas spirit.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Hey, what happened?
Peter, I think we've been robbed.
Not long after, Lois returns from Mexico to hear the bad news from the family that she caused.
Robbed? On Christmas? Oh my god!
Totally nailing it, Lois. Lois asks if they all feel bad about what happened, but they reveal that they're happy because her gift was the only one not stolen. With it comes a note explaining how much they love and appreciate her.
Thanks for making every Christmas so memorable. We love you so much, Mom.
The gift itself is a pretty terrible looking clay bowl, but it was made by the entire family in a pottery class. Loving her gift and her family, Lois begins to feel her heart swell.
Lois's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Turns out if that happens to you, you should really see a doctor. The holidays are always a killer, aren't they? And much like the holidays, Lois has almost been a killer herself when she forced Peter to drink excessively to exploit his hidden talent of playing piano while drunk. Lois is looking for a student talented enough to win the Quahog piano competition, where she always comes in second place behind Alexis Radcliffe.
Congratulations on second place, Lois.
Meanwhile, Peter's trying to drink as much beer as he can so he can find one of the 4 tickets in one of the bottles that will win him a tour of the beer factory and, more importantly, free beer for life. Hundreds of beers later and still no winning ticket, much to the annoyance of Lois.
You're drunk again.
No, I'm just exhausted because I've been up all night drinking.
Hearing cheering outside, Peter learns that Joe has found the first ticket, making his odds even lower. Peter tries his luck with his final beer but comes up empty-handed and empty-stomached.
What the hell?
By a stroke of luck, Peter has found the last remaining ticket. Overjoyed, he runs home as fast as he can, but spoils the moment by tripping. He does this for like 30 seconds, let's just move along. Finally, on the tour, Peter experiences the Willy Wonka-like wonders of the Pawtucket Brewery. Peter and Brian come across an experimental beer that makes you float when you drink it, which seems fun until they start floating up towards a huge industrial fan. Luckily, Peter's fear farts hold the key to escaping.
Peter, that's it!
After filling the room with enough gas to start a car, they're promptly kicked out by Pawtucket Pat for breaking the rules.
Didn't you see that sign? You've sullied my factory and disobeyed my rules.
Sad over losing out on free beer, Peter copes by, you guessed it, getting very drunk. Yet this ends up being a blessing for Lois because it turns out that Peter is quite the pianist when he's 20 beers deep. Pianist.
Peter, that's incredible.
He plays all night, but when the sun comes up, his skills have suddenly vanished along with his buzz. When Brian gives him a pick-me-up, he flies right back into being a music star.
Oh my god, you can only play the piano when you're drunk.
That's pretty impressive. I only embarrass myself when I drink that much. Peter continues to prepare for the piano competition, drinking more and more beer at the hand of Lois. Though she worries about his health, Lois's drive to succeed may just overpower those concerns.
This may not be my proudest moment, but damn it, I want to win.
During the night of the recital, Peter and Lois are informed that they're in a dry county and won't be able to buy alcohol from anywhere. Lois thinks this is a sign to stop, but she really wants to beat Alexis.
Lois?
Alexis?
Loser says what?
What?
Out of options, they decide to crash a nearby high school party to get some beer, but the festivities get busted by the feds. Luckily, drunk Peter is just too clever for these cops.
Lois, look over there! Run!
Back at the recital, Peter is about to go on, so Lois makes sure that he's as buzzed as he can be.
Wait, here's a little something for good luck.
Peter manages to perform beautifully, and even though they take home the trophy, Lois still feels guilty over supporting Peter's alcoholism.
God knows how many of his brain cells I killed pouring all that alcohol down his throat.
She should feel terrible, but I mean, let's be real, he didn't have many up there to kill anyway. And that's not the last time she almost kills Peter, as she nearly killed him and his friends by locking them in the attic. When Stewie crawls into bed with Peter and Lois after a bad dream, Peter is left unable to sleep. He tries out sleeping on the kitchen table, but gets woken up by a confused Brian returning home.
Why don't you go up to the attic? I think there's even a futon up there.
I forgot they even had an attic. It's like that sunroom, no one hangs out there anymore. The next morning, Lois finds Peter still up there, having brought up enough things to make his own man cave.
Welcome to the Pete Pad, where the dancing's hot, the drinks are hot, everything's just freaking hot.
Lois doesn't understand the appeal of it, but us guys do, and there are no girls allowed. The guys come over to check out Peter's sweet new digs. How did Joe get up there? Doesn't matter. What does matter is a day of fun, which involves an insulation fight. Hey guys, that can't be good to inhale. Their rowdiness starts to do damage to the house as lawn darts start to pierce the ceiling.
Damn it, Peter! Are you guys playing lawn darts in the attic again?
No.
Lois is tired of their attic turning into a frat house, demanding that Peter take all of his stuff down. Peter refuses, having way too much fun to stop now, which makes Lois snap.
You like the damn attic so much? Then enjoy the attic!
No way out and no ventilation? I don't see this ending well. The guys start to go stir crazy from being stuck in the attic all night, worrying they may die from heat stroke. Quagmire tries to call for help through a vent, but it just goes to Meg's room, who could not be more checked out. With another night in the attic fast approaching, Peter has no choice but to try and reason with Lois. He calls out to her, but she seems content to let them rot away up there. Desperate and out of options, Peter decides to get drastic.
Lois, so help me God, if you don't let us out right this second, I'm gonna take a dump on your wedding dress.
Lois thinks Peter is bluffing, but he seems dead set on defecating on the dress, even getting the other guys in on it.
If it'll get us out of here, I'll make a duty on it.
What, are you nuts? I've been crowning for 6 hours.
Ugh, too much information. Realizing they aren't messing around, Lois rips the towel hanger from the bathroom wall and crowbars the attic door open.
You were too late. We pooed on the gown.
Trying not to kill them all right then and there, Lois agrees that they all went a bit overboard and they should just put it past them, but I don't know, almost killing your husband and his friends seems way past overboard to me. But Lois has also tried to hurt Peter through cheating, like when she tried to steal Meg's boyfriend to spite Peter. When Lois returns home, Peter greets her with a blunt reminder that she's getting older by pointing out her gray hairs.
Oh my God, you're right.
You know, I don't mind so much that you're aging, it's just the way you're shoving it down my throat.
This loving conversation is broken up by Meg, who asks if she can invite her new boyfriend over for dinner. The family is obviously skeptical over whether or not he's normal or even real, but they agree to meet him anyway. When Anthony finally comes over, the whole family is amazed that there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with him. Just in case, they decide to call in a second opinion.
He seems to be completely normal.
Peter and Lois are very impressed with Anthony, especially when he tells Lois that she's pretty enough to be a movie star. You're a damn liar, Anthony, and you know it. When the parents finally go upstairs, Anthony and Meg take that time to make out on the couch while Lois creepily watches from the top step.
I bet you taste like Mountain Dew and Starburst.
Lois confides in Bonnie that she's become attracted to Meg's boyfriend on account of Peter making her feel bad about her age. Bonnie thinks this is fine, even admitting to having had an affair, saying it's important for them to be explorative with their love life. Maybe don't get married, then. Taking Bonnie's advice, Lois starts to make advances on Anthony, including giving him Peter's work schedule.
My menstrual cycle's on there too, but I don't mind if you don't.
Lois makes up an excuse to get Meg out of the house, offering to keep Anthony company while she's gone. We all know the kind of company she's talking about.
Let me ask you this. Do my gray hairs bother you?
What gray hairs?
Kiss me!
But of course, Meg walks back in and witnesses the whole thing. Whoops. Lois goes to apologize to Meg, who obviously doesn't want to talk to her. She admits to feeling guilty over trying to steal Anthony from Meg, who questions if she really thinks she could. Lois says if she wanted to, she could have, but Meg disagrees.
Look at you! You're old! You're nothing!
Meg asserts just how far she'll go for Anthony by ripping her tooth out. Forget Lois, Anthony seems like the one who should be worried. Lois decides to put the blame on Peter, saying she only cheated because of the way he's been making her feel about her appearance. Peter comes clean and says that his own insecurities made him want to point out Lois's flaws.
I guess I thought that if I could bring you down, you wouldn't start to notice that you're too good for me and run off looking for another fella.
But Lois admits she still loves him, even if Peter doesn't really know why. They both seem like awful people, so maybe they're just made for each other. But this isn't the only time Lois cheated on Peter, as she also slept with former President of the United States, Bill Clinton. During a trip to the aquarium, Peter decides to mess around with an octopus by drawing on his enclosure, but quickly finds out why aquariums have those "do not tap the glass" signs.
It's so sucky and squeezy!
Does that deserve a giggity? What the heck, giggity. The next day, Peter shocks Lois by saying that he's going to the gym. After his tangle with the octopus, Peter wants to be fit and ready in case he runs into another one, but what are the odds of that happening?
Ready for round 2, man? I got all day. Hey, is that your wife?
Like most guys after one day at the gym, Peter is feeling strong and superior compared to the rest of the family.
I'd rip a phone book in half, but for the life of me, I don't know anyone who uses a phone book anymore.
Not to worry, Meg has a laptop. He sure showed that computer who's boss. Just then, the Griffins receive a knock on the door from the Secret Service. You'd think they'd come to arrest Peter for all the illegal things he's done, but really, they just need a hand.
We're with President Clinton's motorcade. It seems he blew a tire in front of your house. Would you happen to have a jack we could borrow?
But there's no need for a jack when you have a man who went to the gym for 15 minutes. Show us how it's done, Peter.
Lift with your lower back in a jerking, twisting motion. Ah!
While sadly laid up in bed with a hernia, Peter is visited by President Clinton, who tries to lift his spirits. Peter is concerned with getting older, but Bill insists that age is all in the mind.
I'm gonna make you believe it. When you get out of here, I'm gonna take you out and show you the time of your life.
The president makes good on his promise, taking him out to where all the cool kids hang, Chuck E. Cheese.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Yeah.
After hanging out with Bill for a while, Peter starts to feel much younger, but they're just getting started.
So what do you want to do next?
Go to Mars, dude.
While gassed out of their minds, the two pull off to a farm and spot a pig, and boy are they hungry.
We could totally eat that pig. We could do it, man. We could. It'd be so easy, man. It would take like a minute.
I feel like you're missing a few steps there, but who am I to question the president? Peter and Bill's partying has gotten to be too much for Lois, so she forbids Peter from hanging out with him again. Peter isn't looking to cut ties, so Lois decides to talk to Bill herself.
Mr. President, I need to have a word with you. Wow, you certainly are very persuasive.
Well, looks like that farm wasn't the only place with pigs. Lois is mortified over what she did and doesn't even get the chance to hide it as Peter catches them in bed together.
The man presided over the longest economic expansion in U.S. history.
Okay, maybe she isn't too mortified. Heartbroken, Peter decides to stay with Quagmire for a while. Lois does manage to convince him to try to save their marriage by allowing Peter to sleep with any woman of his choice, and his answer is not what she expected.
Babs.
My mother?
Yeah.
When she approaches her mother with the offer, she's surprisingly receptive, claiming Carter just isn't doing it for her right now.
Peter, are you sure this is what you want?
Yeah, I'll see you at home.
But Peter can't bring himself to do it, forgiving Lois and admitting he only wants to be with her. Now Peter just needs to break things off with President Clinton.
You and I need to have a talk. Boy, you are good. You are really good.
Okay, maybe we can't blame Lois too much. But what we can blame her for is perhaps the weirdest instance of cheating yet. The time she cheated on Peter with his donor-conceived son, who looks a lot like him. During a ladies' night with Lois, Bonnie, and Donna, the gals decide to prank call their husbands. Donna pretends to be Michelle Obama for Cleveland.
I've been doing all your arm exercises.
Thank you, but those won't work on your fat arms.
While Bonnie pretends to be the radio station to get Joe to sing Britney Spears.
I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. All I need is time.
Lois decides to pretend to be Peter's long-lost daughter, but his reaction leaves her a bit surprised.
Hello?
How'd you get this number? Don't you ever call here again.
When she returns home, Lois tries to sneakily squeeze more info out of Peter, but he doesn't admit to any illegitimate kids. Still suspecting that something's up, Lois trails Peter all the way to a certain type of bank. When she goes to confront him, he acts awfully suspicious.
I'm just shopping. Yeah, I'll take a large sperm, please.
Peter admits that right before they got married, he donated his, population paste for a little extra money. He'd forgotten about it, but the call last night started to worry him. Lois admits to making the call and insists that if there's a kid of his out there, they should be allowed to meet him. Personally, I would spare them the headache of meeting this guy. Not long after, a girl claiming to be Peter's daughter comes to their home. Yep, no denying those genes.
I'm Katie. I'm your daughter.
Peter is surprised she came so soon, but Katie explains they're all so excited to meet him. Well, that makes... Wait, they?
Hi, Dad!
Lois is excited to have all the kids over for dinner, but Peter is still skeptical about having them in his life, though it turns out they have more in common than he may realize. Oh yeah, these freaks are definitely related. While cleaning up the mess Peter's offspring made, Lois accidentally bumps into one of his sons named Larry, who looks a lot like how Peter did when Lois first met him. His offering to help clean surprises her and causes her to feel other emotions as well. Lois agrees to go to lunch with Larry, followed by a trip to the park with some ice cream. When Lois makes a bit of a mess, Larry offers to help.
Let me help you clean it off.
Before Lois can react, Larry starts to passionately kiss her, and that kicked up leg must mean she likes it a little. Not sure what his bent leg means though. When Peter comes looking for Larry, Lois nervously dodges the question, though she confides in Brian about how she let him kiss her.
I told him it could never happen again, and that... What are you doing?
Great timing, Brian. So impressed you thought that would work. Despite Larry's boundary pushing, Lois says she's still willing to see him regardless. This comes to a head when Larry starts to give Lois a back massage. One thing leads to another, and Larry is trying to take off Lois's bra with his teeth.
Lois, is a president stronger than a king? What the hell?
With the truth out in the open, Larry admits his love for Lois, which prompts the two lookalikes to duke it out. The younger Larry is too youthful for Peter to handle and nearly gets the better of him before Lois knocks him out with a potted plant.
I wasn't about to stand by and watch him kick your ass.
I was holding my own there.
Sure you were. Lois admits to her wrongdoing, just wishing that Peter would treat her like he did when they were younger. He agrees to do just that, but come on, we all know he's full of crap.